The rain fell in sheets of acid-tinged droplets, forcing Cassandra Reed to pull her reinforced hood tighter around her face. The ruins of Seattle's downtown stretched before her, a maze of broken skyscrapers and overgrown streets that had become hunting grounds for both the desperate and the dangerous. But Cassandra wasn't here to hunt, she was here to save lives. Her medical scanner hummed quietly against her hip as she navigated through the skeletal remains of what had once been the Pacific Medical Center. The building's walls still held strong, though nature had begun to reclaim much of the structure. Vines crawled through broken windows, and small trees had taken root in the crumbling concrete. "Third floor, east wing," she muttered to herself, checking the coordinates on her wrist display. That's where the signal had come from, an anomaly in the plague patterns that could change everything. The plague had emerged 5 years ago, decimating populations across the globe. But something strange had happened in its wake. Certain women showed complete immunity, while others succumbed within days. Cassandra, a former genetic researcher, had dedicated herself to understanding why. As she climbed the debris-strewn stairwell, her thoughts drifted to her sister Rebecca, one of the first to fall to the plague. The memory of those final days still haunted her, the fever, the delirium, the helplessness she felt as a doctor unable to save her own blood. The third floor was eerily silent save for the distant drip of water and the crunch of broken glass beneath her boots. Her scanner's signal grew stronger as she approached the old laboratory section. The door was sealed shut, its electronic lock long dead. Cassandra pulled out her plasma torch and began cutting through the metal. The laboratory beyond was surprisingly intact. Dust-covered equipment lined the walls, and at the center stood a sealed containment unit, its backup power still functioning after all these years. Inside, preserved in perfect condition, were tissue samples, hundreds of them. "Hello, Doctor." The voice came from behind her, calm and controlled. Cassandra spun around, hand instinctively reaching for her weapon. A woman stood in the doorway, tall and imposing in an unmarked combat suit. "I'm Commander Naomi Chen. I've been waiting for someone like you to find this place." Cassandra kept her hand on her weapon. "You've been monitoring the lab?" "For the past 3 years." Naomi stepped into the room, her movements precise and measured. "We knew eventually someone would piece it together, the connection between the plague and female genetic markers. But we needed someone with the right expertise to understand what we found here." "We?" Cassandra asked, noting the use of plural. "The Sanctuary Protocol. A contingency plan put in place by a group of scientists who saw this coming. They discovered something in these samples, something that could explain why some of us survived while others didn't." Cassandra's mind raced. The implications were staggering. The samples are from before the plague? 2 years before. They were studying genetic variations in hormone production when they noticed an anomaly. A specific genetic sequence that appeared in roughly 30% of female test subjects. The same sequence we found in every immune survivor. The pieces began falling into place in Cassandra's mind. This wasn't just a random plague, was it? "No," Naomi confirmed, her expression grim. "It was engineered. But not to kill, to select. Someone wanted to reshape humanity, to force an evolutionary jump. They just didn't expect the survivors to fight back." A crash echoed from somewhere below them, followed by the sound of multiple footsteps. Naomi's posture tensed. "We're not alone. The Ravagers must have followed you. We need to move, now." "The samples dash," Cassandra started, but Naomi was already moving to the containment unit, typing commands into its console. "Downloading to secure storage. But we can't let them get their hands on the originals." She pulled a small device from her belt and attached it to the unit. "This place is rigged to blow. We have 3 minutes." The footsteps were getting closer. Cassandra could hear voices now, rough and angry. She made a decision, pulling her rifle from its holster. "I'll buy us time. Get those samples secured. The first Ravager appeared in the doorway, a hulking figure in pieced-together armor. Cassandra's shot caught him in the chest, sending him stumbling backward into his companions. The firefight that followed was brief but intense, with Cassandra using the laboratory equipment as cover while keeping the doorway bottlenecked. Done. Naomi called out. Secondary exit, through the biostorage room. They ran as the sounds of pursuit grew louder, ducking through a maze of corridors until they reached a maintenance shaft. As they climbed, the explosion rocked the building, sending tremors through the metal shaft. The samples were destroyed, but the data was safe. On the roof, a stealth transport waited, its engines humming quietly. As they lifted off into the acid rain, Cassandra watched the burning building below, knowing that her life had just changed forever. She had found more than just scientific data, she had found a purpose. "Where are we going?" she asked as the transport cloaked itself, becoming invisible to both eyes and radar. "To the others," Naomi replied, setting their course. "To the women who are building something new from the ashes of the old world. We're not just surviving anymore, Cassandra. We're evolving. And with your help, we're going to ensure humanity has a future." The transport banked north, leaving the ruins of Seattle behind. Below them, the wasteland stretched out like a canvas waiting to be repainted. Cassandra thought of Rebecca, of all those lost to the plague, and made a silent promise. She would uncover the truth, find those responsible, and help build a world where such weapons could never be used again. The future of humanity now rested in the hands of those who had survived, and they would not waste their second chance. The underground facility stretched deeper into the mountains than Cassandra had imagined possible. 3 weeks had passed since her escape from Seattle, and she was still discovering new levels to what the survivors called Haven. The complex was a marvel of engineering, powered by geothermal energy and equipped with advanced filtration systems that made the air cleaner than anything she'd breathed in years. "The genetic markers are definitely artificial," Cassandra explained, gesturing to the holographic display before the assembled council. 6 women sat around the circular table, each a leader in their own right. Naomi stood at her side, a steady presence as Cassandra presented her findings. "Someone designed this immunity with incredible precision. It's not just resistance to the plague, it's an entire suite of enhanced traits." Valentina Petrova, the head of Haven's security forces, leaned forward. Her cybernetic eye whirred as it focused on the display. "Enhanced how?" "Accelerated healing, increased strength, improved cognitive function," Cassandra listed. "But it's the reproductive implications that are most significant. The traits are hereditary, but only through the maternal line. Any children born to immune women will carry these enhancements, regardless of the father's genetics." "A forced evolution," said Dr. Reiko Tanaka, her fingers dancing across a datapad as she analyzed the data. The elderly scientist had been one of Haven's founders, and her brilliance remained undiminished by age. But why? Who would have the resources and motivation to reshape humanity on such a fundamental level? The answer came from an unexpected source. Aria Santos, their newest council member and former intelligence operative, cleared her throat. "I might know." She tapped a command into the table's interface, bringing up classified files. "Before the plague, I was tracking a group called the Helix Directive. They were obsessed with human evolution, convinced our species needed to be upgraded to survive the environmental collapse they believed was coming." "They were right about the collapse," Naomi observed grimly. "Just not its cause." Cassandra studied the files, her heart racing as connections formed. These facilities, these research stations, they matched the architectural style of the lab in Seattle. This was them, wasn't it? They released the plague. "Yes," Aria confirmed. "But something went wrong. The survival rate was much lower than they predicted. Instead of creating a controlled evolution, they nearly caused extinction." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Regina Walsh, Haven's logistics chief, spoke up. How many immune women are there? Our best estimate is fewer than 1 million worldwide, Naomi answered. But we're finding more survivors every day. The problem is, we're not the only ones looking. The Ravagers, Cassandra said, remembering the attack in Seattle. They know about the immunity. Not just them, Valentina added. There are other groups, organized and well-equipped, hunting immune women. They want to control humanity's future by controlling reproduction. Then we need to find these women first, Cassandra declared. Protect them, bring them here if they're willing. Build something stronger than what the Helix Directive envisioned. The council chamber erupted in discussion, plans taking shape. Haven would become more than just a sanctuary, it would be the foundation of a new society. But they needed resources, allies, and most importantly, time. Weeks turned into months as their network grew. Cassandra split her time between the laboratory and the field, working to understand their enhanced genetics while helping to rescue other immune women. Each mission brought new challenges and new allies. One such ally was Jade River, a former combat medic they found defending a small community in the ruins of Vancouver. Her tactical knowledge and medical skills made her invaluable, but it was her story that haunted Cassandra. They came at night, Jade told her as they shared a meal in Haven's communal hall. A private military force, well-funded and ruthless. They'd learned that several immune women had taken refuge in our hospital. They didn't care about collateral damage. How did you escape? We didn't, not all of us. Jade's fingers traced the scar running down her neck. But we made them pay dearly for every life they took. That's when I learned that our immunity came with other changes. In combat, we're stronger, faster, more resilient. It's like our bodies were designed for survival. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. Naomi's voice came over the intercom, tense but controlled. Council members to the command center. We have a situation. In the command center, satellite imagery showed a massive convoy moving across the wasteland. The Brotherhood of Purity, Valentina reported. Religious zealots who believe the plague was divine judgment. They've been gathering forces, attacking survivor settlements. Now they're heading toward one of our largest allied communities. How long do we have? Cassandra asked, studying the tactical display. 3 days at most. The settlement has some defenses, but nothing that will hold against a force that size. Then we move now, Naomi decided. Valentina, prepare our rapid response teams. Cassandra, we'll need medical units ready. Regina, coordinate with our other allies, it's time to show these fanatics that we're stronger together. As Haven mobilized for war, Cassandra felt a mix of determination and dread. They had created something precious here, a future worth fighting for. But that future was about to be tested in fire and blood. In her lab, preparing medical supplies for the coming battle, Cassandra found herself thinking about the Helix Directive. They had tried to force humanity's evolution through devastation and death. But true evolution, she was learning, came through cooperation, through building connections and protecting each other. We're ready, Naomi announced from the doorway. It's time. Cassandra nodded, securing her medical kit. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The coalition was no longer just a dream, it was humanity's best hope for survival. And she would do whatever it took to defend it. The battle for Haven's allied settlement had left scars on the landscape that would take years to heal. Scorched earth and spent shell casings marked where the Brotherhood of Purity had made their final stand. But the coalition had prevailed, their victory cementing their position as a force to be reckoned with in the wasteland. Cassandra stood at the command center's main viewport, watching as supply vehicles moved through the mountain passes below. The coalition's network had grown exponentially in the months following their decisive victory. New settlements sought their protection, bringing with them resources and skills that strengthened their collective survival. The latest test results are in, Dr. Tanaka announced, entering the room with a datapad. The genetic modifications are still evolving. Each generation born to immune mothers shows subtle improvements. Enhanced healing, stronger immune responses, increased cognitive development, it's remarkable. And concerning, Cassandra added, turning from the window. The Helix Directive didn't just want to save humanity, they wanted to create a new species entirely. We're becoming something different. Their discussion was interrupted by Jade River's arrival. The combat medic's expression was grave. We found another Helix facility. You're going to want to see this. The facility was hidden beneath an abandoned military base in Montana. Coalition forces had secured it after a tip from one of their reconnaissance teams. As Cassandra walked through its sterile corridors alongside Naomi and Jade, she felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. It's some kind of monitoring station, Jade explained, leading them to a vast room filled with active servers. They've been watching us, tracking the spread of their genetic modifications through the surviving population. But that's not the worst part. Naomi accessed a terminal, her face illuminated by the blue glow of holographic displays. They're still active. The Helix Directive, they didn't disappear after releasing the plague. They've been gathering data, analyzing results. Planning their next move, Cassandra finished, a knot forming in her stomach. The plague was just phase 1. The data they recovered painted a terrifying picture. The Helix Directive had intended the plague to be followed by a series of triggered genetic changes, each pushing their subjects, humanity, further along their planned evolutionary path. But the Coalition's emergence had disrupted their timeline. Back at Haven, the Council gathered to process this new information. Valentina's cybernetic eye flickered as she processed tactical scenarios. They'll try to regain control. We should expect an attack. Not just an attack, Arya corrected, her intelligence background lending weight to her words. They'll want to reclaim what they see as their property, us. Every immune woman, every child born with these modifications. We're their grand experiment. Regina Walsh tapped her fingers on the table thoughtfully. Then we need to strike first. Hit their remaining facilities, gather their research, eliminate their ability to control these genetic triggers they've planted in our DNA. It's not that simple, Dr. Tanaka interjected. These modifications are incredibly complex. Any attempt to alter them could have catastrophic consequences. We need to understand them completely before we try to change anything. Then we work faster, Cassandra declared. Because I guarantee the Helix Directive isn't waiting around. Jade, I want you to help coordinate with our medical teams. Dr. Tanaka, we'll need to expand our research facilities. Arya, find us every scrap of intel on remaining Helix operations. As the Council dispersed to their tasks, Naomi held Cassandra back. There's something else you should see. She led the way to a secure laboratory deep within Haven's medical wing. Inside, behind protective barriers, a young girl sat reading. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old. This is Sophia, Naomi explained softly. She was born to one of our immune mothers 2 years after the plague. Her genetic scans. She handed Cassandra a datapad. Cassandra's eyes widened as she reviewed the data. These patterns, they're completely different from anything we've seen. The modifications aren't just active, they're exponentially more advanced. She represents what the Helix Directive was trying to achieve, Naomi said. A true evolutionary leap. And she's not the only one. We've identified dozens of children showing similar patterns. The implications were staggering. These children could be humanity's future, or its replacement. The weight of this knowledge settled heavily on Cassandra's shoulders. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore, they were racing against time to understand and potentially guide humanity's forced evolution. An alert sounded through Haven's communications system. Valentina's voice came through crisp and urgent, multiple contacts detected. Large-scale aircraft approaching from the west. Energy signatures match Helix directive technology. How long? Naomi demanded. 20 minutes, maybe less. They're coming in fast. Cassandra shared a look with Naomi. The future they'd been building, the answers they sought, everything would be tested in the coming battle. But this time, they were ready. The coalition had grown strong, united by more than just survival. They were fighting for the right to choose their own path forward, to ensure that humanity's evolution would be guided by compassion and cooperation rather than cold calculation. Sound the alarm, Cassandra ordered. Get our people to shelter and our defenders in position. The Helix Directive wants to see what their experiment has created. Let's show them. As Haven's warning sirens began to wail, Cassandra thought of Sophia and the other children, the next generation that would inherit whatever world emerged from this conflict. She made a silent promise to ensure that world would be one worth living in. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin. The skies above Haven turned dark with Helix Directive aircraft, their sleek forms a stark contrast to the rugged mountain landscape. Inside the command center, Cassandra watched as Valentina coordinated their defense forces, her cybernetic eye processing battlefield data at incredible speeds. Their technology is decades ahead of anything we've seen, Valentina reported, her voice tense. Plasma weapons, energy shields, sonic disruptors. They've been preparing for this. Naomi stood at Cassandra's side, her presence reassuring in the chaos. So have we, she reminded them. Activate the quantum shields. The air around Haven shimmed as hidden emitters powered up, creating a protective dome over the entire complex. The first wave of Helix weapons fire splashed harmlessly against the barrier, lighting up the sky in brilliant patterns of energy dispersion. They're testing our defenses, Jade observed from her position at the medical readiness station. The real attack hasn't started yet. She was right. A new signal cut through their communications, and a face appeared on the main screen, a woman with steel-gray hair and cold, calculating eyes. I am Director Rachel Winters of the Helix Directive. Your resistance, while impressive, is ultimately futile. You are part of something greater than yourselves. Submit now, and we can proceed with the next phase of evolution as planned. Cassandra stepped forward. We've seen your plans, Director. Triggered genetic changes, controlled evolution, the creation of a new species under your guidance. But you forgot something crucial, evolution isn't just about survival. It's about adaptation, cooperation, choice. Choice. Winters laughed, the sound devoid of warmth. You don't understand. The modifications we gave you, they're not complete. Without our guidance, the next phase could destroy you all. Those children you're protecting, they're unstable prototypes. You're lying, Cassandra declared, but doubt crept into her mind. They had seen the accelerating changes in the children, the unprecedented developments in their genetic structure. Am I? Check your data again, Dr. Reed. You know I'm right. The potential for catastrophic mutation increases with each generation. Only we can control it. The connection cut off as a new attack began. This time, the Helix forces deployed ground troops, using advanced teleportation technology to bypass their outer defenses. The battle erupted throughout Haven's levels. Cassandra raced to the medical wing with Jade, fighting through corridors where Coalition defenders clashed with Helix soldiers. They reached Sophia's secure room just as a team of Helix operatives breached the door. What happened next would be talked about for years to come. Sophia, the quiet 6-year-old they had been studying, raised her hands. The Helix soldiers stopped in their tracks, their weapons falling useless to the ground. The child's eyes glowed with an inner light as she exercised abilities none of them had known she possessed. The children, Cassandra whispered in awe. They're not unstable, they're transcending. Throughout Haven, similar scenes played out. The children of immune mothers, sensing the threat to their home, revealed capabilities that defied explanation. They could influence technology, communicate telepathically, even manipulate the quantum fields that powered their defenses. Cassandra. Naomi's voice came through her communicator. The Helix forces, they're retreating. But Director Winters, she's activated something. Some kind of failsafe in their genetic modifications. Pain shot through Cassandra's body, and she saw Jade collapse nearby. All around Haven, the immune women were being affected by whatever signal the Helix directive had triggered. But then Sophia was there, her small hand touching Cassandra's forehead. The pain vanished. "We can help," the child said, her voice carrying echoes of others, all the enhanced children working in concert. "We can rewrite what they did, make it better. But we need your help to guide us." Understanding dawned. The Helix directive had wanted to control evolution, to create a perfect species according to their design. Instead, they had given birth to something they couldn't control, children who could actively direct their own evolution, but who retained their humanity through the love and guidance of their mothers and protectors. In the command center, Director Winters' face appeared again, this time showing fear. "What have you done?" "The genetic locks, they're dissolving." "This isn't possible." "You tried to play God," Cassandra told her, Sophia's hand held firmly in her own. "But you forgot that true divinity isn't about control, it's about creation and love and choice. We choose our own path forward." The Helix directive's forces retreated in disarray as their genetic failsafe backfired. The enhanced children, working together, had not only protected their people but had begun to heal them, stabilizing and improving the modifications that had been forced upon them. In the battle's aftermath, Haven became something new, not just a sanctuary, but a crucible of true human evolution. The children would need guidance, understanding, and love to handle their growing abilities. But they would have it in abundance, surrounded by a community that had fought for their right to choose their own destiny. Cassandra found Naomi in the ruins of the medical lab, helping to treat the wounded. Their eyes met in shared understanding. The revolution wasn't just about surviving anymore, it was about thriving, about building a future where humanity could evolve not through force or control, but through cooperation and choice. "What now?" Naomi asked softly. "Now," Cassandra replied, watching as Sophia helped heal an injured defender, "we build something new. Something better. Together." 5 years after the Battle of Haven, the world had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The ruins of old cities were giving way to new growth, not just physical reconstruction, but a fundamental reimagining of human civilization. Cassandra stood in her expanded laboratory, now a center for both research and education, watching as Sophia led a class of younger children in their daily exercises. The children, now known as the Nexus generation, had become humanity's bridge to a future that balanced technological advancement with environmental harmony. Their abilities had stabilized and grown under the guidance of the Coalition, now transformed into the united communities of Earth. "They're getting stronger every day," Naomi observed, joining Cassandra at the window. Their relationship had deepened over the years, forged in crisis and tempered by shared purpose. But more importantly, they're learning wisdom. Sophia, now 11, demonstrated a technique for using their quantum manipulation abilities to purify contaminated soil. Under her guidance, dead Earth transformed into fertile ground, ready for new life. The other children followed suit, their combined powers accelerating the healing of their wounded world. Director Winters was right about one thing, Cassandra mused, reviewing data on her tablet. The genetic modifications were incomplete. But not in the way she thought. They weren't meant to be controlled, they were meant to evolve naturally, shaped by human choice and connection. The remnants of the Helix directive had been discovered in hidden facilities across the globe. Their databases revealed the full scope of their ambition, and their fundamental misunderstanding of human potential. They had seen evolution as a ladder to be climbed, when in reality it was more like a web, with countless paths and possibilities. Jade entered the laboratory, her medical expertise now enhanced by her understanding of their evolved biology. The latest results from the global survey are in. The genetic changes have stabilized across all populations. No more unexpected mutations, no degradation. Whatever the children did during the battle, it created a sustainable pattern. The implications were profound. Humanity wasn't becoming a new species, it was becoming a better version of itself, guided by the wisdom of those who had fought for the right to choose their own path. In Haven's central chamber, now a vast garden dome, the council had expanded to include representatives from communities worldwide. Dr. Tanaka, though retired from active research, still attended meetings, her insight valued more than ever. Today's session focused on the integration of their enhanced abilities with traditional human wisdom and culture. "We're seeing something remarkable," Arya reported, her intelligence network now focused on understanding rather than defense. "The children's abilities aren't just physical or mental, they're changing how we connect with each other, how we understand our place in the world." Regina, who had transformed their logistics network into a global restoration project, pulled up a holographic map showing the spread of restored ecosystems. "The wastelands are retreating. Where we once fought for survival, we're creating abundance." But it's not just the children's powers, it's their perspective that's making the difference. Valentina, her cybernetic enhancements now integrated with their evolved biology, nodded in agreement. They see the world as a whole system, not something to be conquered or controlled. "They're teaching us as much as we're teaching them." Outside the dome, new buildings rose from the restored Earth, their design a harmony of advanced technology and natural forms. The architecture reflected their new understanding, that progress didn't have to come at the cost of destruction, that strength could be found in adaptation rather than domination. Cassandra found Sophia in the evening, sitting in her favorite spot overlooking the valley. The young girl's presence had a calming effect on those around her, a natural leadership that came from understanding rather than authority. "Do you ever wonder," Sophia asked, "what would have happened if the Helix Directive had succeeded? If they had controlled our evolution?" "Sometimes," Cassandra admitted, sitting beside her. "But they didn't understand what evolution really means. They thought they could force humanity to change according to their plan. Instead, they gave us the tools to change ourselves." Sophia smiled, her eyes reflecting the sunset. "And we chose to change together." She raised her hand, and the air shimmered with quantum energy, forming patterns that told the story of their journey, from devastation to renewal, from control to choice, from survival to flourishing. In the years that followed, humanity continued to evolve, not toward some predetermined ideal, but in countless diverse ways. The children of the Nexus generation became teachers, healers, and innovators, their abilities enhanced by their understanding of the responsibility that came with power. The world they built wasn't perfect, it still faced challenges, still grappled with questions of identity and purpose. But it was a world where evolution meant more than just survival of the fittest. It meant the survival of the wisest, the most compassionate, the most willing to learn and grow together. As Cassandra looked out over the flourishing valley, she thought of all they had lost and all they had gained. The plague that had nearly destroyed humanity had instead forced it to confront its own potential. The weapon designed to control their future had become the key to their liberation. "Ready for tomorrow's council meeting?" Naomi asked, joining them on the overlook. "We're discussing the expansion of the restoration projects to the southern continents." Cassandra took her hand, feeling the strength of their shared purpose. "Ready," she replied. "There's still so much to do, so much to learn." "And that," Sophia added with a wisdom beyond her years, "is exactly how it should be." The sun set on a world transformed, not by force or control, but by choice and connection. The renaissance they had built wasn't an ending, it was a beginning, a new chapter in the ongoing story of human evolution. And this time, they would write that story together.